I can't help it. I love it when she cusses. When she cusses, I'm like, I just get a nice little tingle in my heart going, oh, she said a cuss word.
Check on your Mormon friends and their kids. Like, make sure they're not being tied up somewhere. Yeah, do vocal exercises.
Hello and welcome to the broadcast. I am Eva. Hello, how you doing? And with me, I have the exuberant Xylie.
Oh, hey, what's up?
The ruckus-causing Rynnie.
Hello.
And also we have the bitchin' bunny right here with us too.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah, I thought you would. All right, we are at episode number 31. Today we are going to go through the newest swoop video, basically. It is called The End of 8 Passengers, Mum Ruby Franke. She has always been this way. So this is updates from the downfall.
Ooh.
Yeah, and the video is like an hour and 40 minutes long, and you know, we're doing an episode, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with the a chapter called Creepy History, because we pretty much know the beginning of it, because that's stuff that we have covered, all right?
Yeah.
But I do want to see the Creepy History, and then we're going to move on to the last, I think, 3 or 4 sections of the video, because that's the stuff that I really want to know, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we've been pretty much keeping up with this stuff, so it's like we kind of know some of that stuff, and it's like, okay, it's the same thing, so.
Yeah.
All right, so are you ready? Are you ladies ready? We good? Am I sharing my screen? Because I always forget to share my screen.
Yes. Your screen's on, and I'm putting an imaginary 1 in chat, so there we go.
Okay, imaginary 1, let's go! Okay.
Woo! All right, do it.
Let's do it.
Now, for all y'all who've been paying attention to the 8 Passengers saga as it's been playing out online, what's happening to Ruby Franke only comes as a surprise in regards to just how unlikely it is for family channels like these to actually see anything resembling justice be dealt to them. But just like any other story that I cover on my channel, the story of Ruby Franke is the story of a real, living, breathing person whose actions affect other real people, and not just her kids. Even her neighbors have been scared of Ruby for quite a while. One neighbor told NBC News, quote, "Everyone is just breathing a collective sigh of relief because we thought the police were going to come out of that house with body bags."
Wait a minute.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. Okay.
Then that just makes it even worse for me. But you can't tell me the dad didn't know. We know the family members knew, and now the neighbors were worried?
Yeah. Seems like everybody knew.
Yeah, like they sound like those neighbors that like everyone's like weary of.
Well,
yeah.
This is sad. This is so sad. Like, how? How? If everybody
how to
knew,
get to the
how?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh
Well,
my
you know,
God.
probably some of those CPS calls were probably done by the neighbors then.
Probably.
Oh,
Yeah,
Probably
that's
so.
just another example of the system failing them.
That's so
Jesus
tragic.
Christ, bro.
Isn't that just a lovely sentiment to believe about your neighbor? That the way that Ruby Franke treats her loved ones is so bad that there was a fear that body bags were going to come out of that house. So for those of you playing at home, all of your worst fears were correct. Not only is this how Ruby is on camera, this is also how she was off camera, allegedly, like many of us suspected all along. It's why I made part 1 of the series, hoping to be another voice in the world saying, "What the f, Ruby? Sit down and get your together." And it's something that's been happening for many years. KUTV.
I can't help it. I can't help it. I love it when she cusses. I don't know what it is.
Yes.
I do, because she's so well put together and she words things so well. When she cusses, I'm like, I just get a nice little tingle in my heart going, oh, she said a cuss word.
Yeah, because when she cusses, when she says a swear word, it's like, you know, she means
It's
it.
like an exclamation point. It literally is. Her cursing is like an exclamation point. 100%. Yes.
Out of Utah made a report earlier in September that revealed, for instance, that over a dozen calls were made to law enforcement regarding 2 houses owned by Ruby over the course of many years, with incident reports actually not being created for many of those calls.
Do I have to say it? Why
What
weren't
the fuck?
incident reports made for those calls? Bro.
Yeah.
Most of these calls took place in 2022 and 2023, with 4 instances alone having to involve DCFS, or Department of Child and Family Service workers. Now, one of those instances was on September 18th, 2022, just over a year ago, when Springfield police received a call for a welfare check from Xylie Franke, who claimed that her siblings had been left home alone for 5 days, young siblings, while Ruby Franke was visiting St. George, Utah, which is about 10 miles away from home. 10 miles. Do you know how long it takes to drive 10 miles in the middle of bare-ass, flat road Utah? Like,
Wait a minute. Why were her kids left home alone? And why was that?
Jesus.
Why were her kids not taken from her?
Yeah.
You would
That
think.
just shows where her priorities were. They definitely weren't with her kids.
For 5 days. And where was the father?
Exactly. Like, no wonder some of the kids had, like, malnutrition and shit.
15 minutes max if you're taking in the views, meaning this woman couldn't be bothered to drive 15 minutes home to care for her kids. Instead, they had to fend for themselves for 5 days. Now, when police arrived for that welfare check, the Franke bunch wouldn't answer the door, but according to the report about the incident, officers could see that the young ones were indeed home alone, and later, neighbors would reveal that this was the running theme for Ruby. But even before incidences like these, when Ruby and Kevin lived in
I'm getting pissed off at every single adult. I really am in this situation.
Yeah.
I am literally getting mad at every single adult, even people who weren't family members, who were neighbors that knew this was happening.
Yeah. And it's starting to feel like she only had so many kids so that they could just take care of each other. That was her plan. There's 5 of you. Take care of each other.
You know what? That, as crazy as she is, you're probably not wrong.
Yeah.
You're probably not wrong.
Yeah, 'cause
Springville,
isn't it-
Utah from 2012 to 2020. A dozen calls were made specifically regarding that address. Now, not every call was a welfare check, with some of the calls being related to traffic stops, but a few of the calls involved DCFS, and I don't know, it seems pretty fucking weird that it's been over a decade and the police have had to go to this one house and get DCFS involved so many times, right? And the big question that I keep coming back to is, what is an acceptable amount of times for protective services to get involved? Is it
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. I mean, if there's smoke, there's fire, right?
Right.
I mean, she's been getting calls for over a decade. Obviously, something is not right. Oh my God.
There should have been like a full investigation on this.
You think
Yeah.
so?
I mean,
Maybe
it's-
many years ago, there should have been a full-on investigation. What the hell, bro?
Do you think that, you know how like some YouTubers and some personalities call ahead to like the police and whatever and say, look, I'm kind of famous, you know, you might actually get some people like calling in this and that, and, you know, you might want to, you know, I don't need to be swatted because, you know, I'm this and that. People are just calling in fake shit. So, you know, like, don't worry about
it
that
definitely
stuff.
could be.
So do you,
Yeah.
okay, oh, wait. So what you're saying is it possible that she was like hiding in plain sight because of her YouTube channel?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
reckon.
I mean, that kind of makes sense. That
Because
kind of makes
like,
sense.
why would like that those many reports be going like under the radar? Like,
Yeah.
that's the only explanation to me, that she would have just played it off like, oh, they're just crazy fans, you know?
I mean, that does
Yeah.
make sense. That could have been the mindset of the people looking into it. I mean, it could be like, oh, it's just crazy fans calling in. You know how crazy people are. You know, it's the
Yeah.
internet. I mean, it could have been that. Honestly.
But even
Yeah.
with like the 5-day incident, because they said the police went up there, couldn't you? Because, you know, I don't think we know if like the kids had food or not. But like, if they didn't have food, wouldn't you be able to tell?
What do you mean?
Because they said like the kids were left alone for 5 days, right?
Yeah.
But we don't know if they had food or not. But I'm saying if they didn't have food and the police went up, couldn't the police be able to tell that?
Apparently, the kids didn't answer the door. I mean, the kids didn't let them in.
Okay.
Yeah, she probably had them well trained not to answer the
Oh,
door
absolutely.
to anybody but her, just in case. Yeah,
I
something
feel
like
like-
that happens.
I feel like they probably would have been tied up as well, to be honest, because
Oh,
look,
Yeah,
that's
there's no
right.
telling.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's a good point. They could have been tied up in there, and that could have been why they didn't answer the door. Who knows?
That's true. Yeah.
once, twice, thrice? Is it quarce? Yes, I said it, quarce. I am pissed, okay? I am making up words. That's how I cope with Ruby's quack shittery that's going on right now. Anyways, the question at hand, how many times does it take for DCFS to show up? Well, the right answer is, hold on, let me check. Oh yeah, 0 times. It should take 0 times for them to be called because you're not being a dreadful human. So 0 calls would have been the acceptable answer there because you don't suck. But I've only told you about the calls from 2012 to 2020 and 2022 to 23. Between 2020 and 2021, there were an additional 9 calls made on the Franke family, with 4 of them involving DCFS. How many licks does it take to get to the center of this bullshit? So, what the hell happened? Why were they?
I mean, for real, she's not wrong. What?
That's so many calls.
Oh my God, bro. This is, I hate this story. I hate this story.
They not investigated at all. How did we get here? And listen, I know that services like DCFS are underfunded, understaffed, and over-needed. But what is happening? If her son hadn't have crawled out the window, how many more calls would have been made? How far would those neighbors' fears of bags coming out of the house eventually been what happened?
Okay. So that is that one. All right, so this is about Jodi's dark past, and then we're just going to do the rest of the video. Again, we encourage everybody to go watch this whole entire video.
Yep.
Because I can tell you now, the whole video was really good. Of course, it was a swoop video, obviously.
Yeah. And we'll leave that link in the description as well for you guys to go look at.
Absolutely. All right, here we go.
So with all of that in mind, it's worth noting that according to Ruby's own family, it was when Ruby and Kevin entered counseling with Jodi Hildebrandt that things began to ramp up in their own relationship in a troubling way. Ruby and Kevin began living in separate houses, and Ruby began working alongside Jodi at Connections. And by all accounts, the two were actually completely inseparable, with much of the time that Ruby spent away from home being spent with Jodi. Now, I don't know this for sure, but I feel like I can make a pretty educated guess here that Jodi probably did to Kevin Franke what she did to countless husbands over the course of counseling by encouraging him to isolate away from Ruby while lifting Ruby up in the process.
Remember what she used to, remember what we read that she did with the men, that they were all like addicted to porn and stuff like that? Yeah. And she blamed everything on that. Yep.
Kevin was fully separated from his wife and kids because distortions, and Ruby went further and further down the rabbit hole with Jodi. Now, it's not entirely clear how their relationship progressed, or if I'm even fully correct in my assumption.
I'm telling you now, I think they're in a relationship.
Yeah.
I do
That's how it comes off.
I think they're in a relationship. I really do, but because of their religion, they can't say it.
They're like
I think it's something like that too.
Like Hildebrandt has like huge I hate men energy anyway.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so make of this what you will. But when you think about how Connections has been run, mixed with how Ruby's life has shifted since she met Jodi, one starts to wonder, is this all Jodi's fault? Is Jodi the mastermind? And I haven't even brought up Jodi's own experiences with the minors yet because I wanted to make sure that we could honor the story of someone related to Jodi properly. Xylie Hildebrandt, who is an adult, who uses they, them pronouns, is Jodi's nibbling, which is a gender-neutral term for a...
I watched the special with them in it. There was something that I watched. I can't remember if it was Netflix, Hulu, or it might have even been on YouTube. But it was some kind of, they went through their story, and it was sad. It was sad. They have been through a lot.
A niece or nephew. Now, recently, Xylie Hildebrandt also came forward with a set of allegations that Jodi herself, how do I put this lightly? I guess we'll stick to the theme, quacked like a duck. And Jodi allegedly did this for over a year. Now, what's disturbing about Jesse's allegations are that what they describe sounds suspiciously familiar to something we heard about at the very start of this story. Now, again, in order to make this digestible for all of you and adhere to the platform's policies, I won't share any of the graphic parts of Jesse's statement. But to summarize those parts, Jesse said that they were subjected to some of the exact same physical treatments and restraints that Ruby's son, who escaped, also faced. Jesse also said the following.
That doesn't excuse Ruby's involvement and her perpetuating these beliefs and these systems, but Ruby didn't come up with this. Ruby obviously supports it, but this is coming from Jody. The things that I experienced while living with Jody.
Jessie goes on to allege being isolated for up to 12 hours a day, once being forced to sleep outside in the snow, and that people in their lives were told that if Jessie ever broke any of the rules Jody enforced on them, they needed to report back to Jody immediately.
People were afraid of me to the point where I was afraid of myself. If someone spoke to me directly, I had to just stare at them and not respond, because she also had systems of people that would report back to her if I broke any of these rules.
Now, police actually questioned Jessie.
Jessie was literally held captive.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Literally held captive. It was bad. It was really bad. I don't remember where I saw that one at. I can't remember when I watched it, though. It was like, oh, that's so sad. I was crying. It was so bad.
Wow.
That is like also literally cult behavior.
Yes.
As well.
100%.
Yes, Eva, and that's what it honestly, hearing Jessie talk about it, that's exactly what it sounded like. That's exactly what it sounded like. It sounded like she was they were in a cult. Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad they got out of that situation. Jesus.
Jesse's father, aka Jody's brother, about this at the time, who didn't deny it and claimed that occurred one time and this was a way to show Jessie what it would be like to sleep outside. I mean, yeah, if you want to show someone what it's like to sleep outside, having them sleep outside should do the trick. But hey, Jody's brother, that's not an excuse. Now, I want to take a quick moment to discuss a central theme that has stuck out to me through the entire telling of this story. It's something that has greatly impacted Ruby's family, Adam Steed, Jessie Hildebrandt, and countless others. It's the concept of isolation. Isolation, without a doubt, has been one of the #1 manipulation tactics that people like Jody and Ruby have used against others in order to control their actions. And y'all know what this...
Yeah, it's called being in a cult.
Yep.
Swoop Talk, I think it's important to quickly discuss the warning signs of these types of tactics so that you are better equipped to protect yourselves if you think that you might be subjected to this type of control. So if we take a look at this power and control wheel put together by Dr. Claire Murphy, we see things like one-sided power games, mind games, inappropriate restrictions, and isolation. Isolation is a pivotal tactic that controlling partners use in order to weaken their victims, prevent them from hearing others' perspectives, and to bring them into line with their own beliefs and requirements. And please remember, this does not have to apply to intimate partners. These tactics can be used by anyone in your life, like an employer, a friend, a pastor, a parent, a sibling, which is why it's healthy to know how to spot these tactics. So I'm going to modify how I read the next part a little to represent any situation and not just a partner. Isolation is a painful product of unhealthy relationships. People who behave often intentionally separate you from the people that care about them because it offers them greater power and control over the relationship and survivor. This person might have asked or demanded that you not be around or communicate with people they suspect you are attracted to, or even long-term family or friends. They could have ordered you to stop going to their places or doing things you once enjoyed. These expectations have no place in a healthy relationship, and you have the right to be part of a robust support network and community. I'm just going to...
And if that statement is not true, I'm telling you now, been there, done that. It is 1,000% true.
Same, dude.
Yeah.
Like I'm just going, yep.
Yeah. Reading, going, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's definitely true. Been there, done that. Yep. Been there, done that. Whole thing. Yeah, no, it's bad. It gets really bad. Yep.
Yeah, it does.
To run down a quick list of some of the main isolation tactics so that you can be aware, and then we will move on from this. So we're starting with dehumanizing you. They'll intentionally look away when you're talking or stare at something else when speaking to you in an effort to make you feel unimportant, keeping you from socializing. Whether you have plans to go out, they come up with a distraction or beg you not to go, invalidating you. They might suggest or say straight out that your needs, boundaries, and desires don't matter to them. Now, other strategies include the following: trying to come between you and your family, using the silent treatment, withholding affection, shutting down communication, actively working to turn others against you, denying support, interrupting, disputing your feelings. No matter what feeling or emotion you express, they might insist you shouldn't feel that way. For example, you shouldn't be angry over that, or what have you got to feel sad about? Please know that if...
Oh my God, I'm getting kind of triggered.
I know.
I am too.
Like all of that was like check. Oh my God,
I'm just like, holy shit.
I'm getting kind of triggered. That reminds me of that horrible ass relationship I had. My God.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Any of this resonates with you, if you have ever felt isolated, alone, or like someone in your life has been trying to keep you away from the people that you trust and the things that you love, please know that you absolutely are valid in how you're feeling. You are not crazy, and your feelings matter, period. If you have someone you trust, please talk to them. And if you don't feel like there's anyone there for you, please know that you will get through this. And there are fantastic resources like thehotline.com that are here to help you free of charge. Please do reach out and please take care. Now, back to the story.
No, I've never met Ruby. This is the first time I've ever even heard of her. I have gone and watched at least some of her videos. They're very difficult to watch just for...
Oh yeah, Jesse, the main thing Jesse says in their story is they're not blaming everything on Ruby Franke. They're blaming it mostly on Jody because of what Ruby Franke was doing to her kids is what Jody did to them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And like Ruby, Jesse will say, Ruby Franke, bad. But Jody is the mastermind. I'm telling you, Jody is the mastermind.
Yeah, she's the one that Ruby must have gotten a lot of her tactics from.
Yeah.
That's how it's ending.
I don't know. The thing is that like Ruby was doing this before she met Jody.
Yeah,
I think what happened.
It got worse.
Yes, I think what happened is two evil people got together. And they
Yeah.
liked each other's style, and they just fed off of each other. That's what it sounds like to me. Honestly.
Yeah, it became amplified.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, she's picked up new ways to torment her kids from Jody.
Yep.
my own experience with that form of therapy. So I've never met her, but the things that she is saying and regurgitating are very, very familiar to me. But it's interesting to watch the world respond to her and kind of putting her at the forefront. And I understand that she's the mother of these children, and it makes sense. But the philosophies and the therapeutic modalities that she's using are Jody's. This is a pattern that Jody has been engaged with for at least 14 years, but she's definitely taught. I know that she teaches parents to use these types of therapies, as she would call them. So yeah, it's been a really interesting experience watching everyone focus on Ruby, and I understand why. But this is Jody. These are Jody's words. These are Jody's ideas.
Jesse claims that people have been trying to speak out against.
I feel like they definitely need to get the list of like clients that Jody has had, and maybe check in on those kids.
The
parents she's taught.
I'm going to be honest. I think they need to look into the Mormon Church.
Oh yeah.
Remember, they were the ones sending people to Jody.
Yeah.
You know.
True.
They were the ones sending people to Jody, and she was looked at very well within that portion of the Mormon Church. They need to look into them too. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we just need like a nationwide call to like check on your Mormon friends and their kids. Like make sure they're not being tied up somewhere, because this
is crazy.
Yeah.
So much.
Jody for years, but that no one has listened. Jody Hildebrandt, if Jesse is correct, has been indirectly under the protection of being much more anonymous than the much more public Ruby. This is the most front-facing Jody has ever been, and the first time that Jody will hopefully be held fully responsible for the bad things she allegedly has done.
You know, Swoop, you've been following this story, and I'm really...
Look at our baby on News Nation. Look at her. Look at Swoop.
Curious as to sort of this disintegration of allegedly of Ruby Franke. She separated from her husband. He hasn't seen the kids in 13 months. She met Jody Hildebrandt. So really, Jody Hildebrandt might be a catalyst. Is that your observation over the past year?
I think that's accurate to say, yes. I think that they were both operating in their own worlds, obviously, before they met, and Ruby was vlogging along with her husband. And we've heard the stories now of people like Adam Steed come forward and other victims of Jody, where she was taking families that she was counseling that were, pushed and, supported by the church. She was taking the men and separating them from the women, the husbands from the wives, and isolating each from each other. So there are longstanding histories of this type of isolation from both of them independently. So I feel like when they met together, it was kind of this perfect, awful, very sinister storm where I believe that Jody very much instilled her principles and the teachings and this distortion thing that she discusses in Connections, and instilled that very much in Ruby, who was quite open to it because she was already exhibiting for a very long time, number of years on her channel. So
exactly. That's basically better put, but yeah, that's what I said. They were already separately doing bad stuff, and then they came together, and like she said, it was a perfect storm. Perfect storm.
Yeah.
When the two of them get together, we see this very horrific story unfold. On September 6, 2023, Kevin Franke's lawyer, Randy Kester, began speaking out to the public in defense of Kevin Franke, first in an interview.
Okay, I can't wait for this because Kevin pisses me off so bad.
Yeah.
Interview with Good Morning America.
He's a good person. He's very gentle. He's a very gentle guy, and no one's ever made any allegations.
The issue with this, Randy, is that the problem with Kevin Franke has never been that he allegedly did anything physically to his family, but more that he not only knew about what Ruby was doing, but enabled it and profited off of it with the 8 Passengers channel.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
Enabled it.
To date, he hasn't owned up to any of this, and I think he probably never will. So let's just remind you of why it's important we don't forget Kevin Franke's role in all of this. Remember what I said about how in 2020, Ruben and Kevin forced their oldest son to sleep on a beanbag for 7 months after banning him from his room?
My bedroom was taken away for 7 months, and then you give it back like a couple of weeks ago.
I don't think our viewers know that.
Or when Ruby and Kevin sent that same son off to the Anasazi behavioral camp.
Adults.
We decided it was best to clue you guys in on what's been going on a little bit with Chad and why Ruby and I are in a hotel room right now in Phoenix, Arizona.
And it would also explain why you haven't seen Chad. Have any of you noticed you have not seen Chad in any of the videos?
I mean, you get the point. Right now, in Kevin's defense, Kevin's been separated from Ruby for over a year as of September 2023 and has claimed through his lawyer that he was not aware of how Ruby's actions towards her kids had escalated in that time.
So you mean to tell me within that year you haven't seen your children, talked to your children, seen anything with your children?
Yeah, that's
You didn't notice any bruises, nothing.
Yeah, like what?
There's
no way.
emaciation, if that's even a word, does not happen overnight.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen overnight. So you mean to tell me you didn't see them? And if you didn't see them, what kind of fucking father are you when you're not that far away from them?
Exactly.
Sorry. No, he's not off the hook. I refuse to let that man off the hook. No.
Yeah, he was complicit. And that's just all it is. Like, he knew what was going on and he allowed it to happen.
Yeah.
And that's just as bad.
Yeah.
As Swoop said, he's an enabler.
He wasn't he wasn't there for his kids. He wasn't.
Yeah, he abandoned them, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Also claimed he didn't even know where his kids were living. So do with that what you will. And so with that, in the most thorough and robust offense against Kevin, because what the f, Kevin, him not being aware of what was happening doesn't really matter to me because number one, where the f were you, Kevin? Why weren't you talking to your own children for the last year, Kevin? And number two, what about all the things Kevin was willingly a part of that was posted to the world to see and that Kevin profited from, just like Ruby? Ruby said that they made millions of dollars off of this. Don't get it twisted. Kevin, allegedly, according to Ruby, was a multi-millionaire. So I'm just like, Kevin, where do you get the whole grain steak and potatoes audacity to play the innocent one here, Kevin?
Thank you.
Kevin.
Thank you. She's not wrong.
Kevin, if my theory about Jody Hildebrandt is true, Kevin, she's the only reason your D-list Lex Luthor-looking self isn't in the crosshairs right now. This isn't one of those situations where you realize the errors of your ways, removed yourself from the situation, and apologized. No, there's a very good chance that you were viewed as distorted by Jody Hildebrandt, which that sounds like it would suck, so I'm not, I don't know, maybe you did a double take on another gal, or maybe you watched some inappropriate videos, maybe you just said a bad word that Jody didn't like, and per her guidance, you moved into a whole ass other house. We know that Kevin, via his attorney, is saying that Ruby told him that in order to stay together, because believe it or not, he was saying he still wants to be with her, he needed to isolate from them for a year, and still, here I am, running my whole ass mouth saying, I don't care, Kevin.
I don't understand. I seriously don't understand. Once you have children, I understand that your partner that you're having the children with, they are important. I'm not saying they're not important. But wouldn't the child's life be just as important? Wouldn't you want to be there with your children? I do not understand how your love for this woman and that means to me that what was going on while he was there, what was happening to those kids while he was there didn't matter to him.
Yeah.
No,
because he was very willing to leave that situation and not have contact with his kids like they were going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That means he didn't have a damn problem with what they were doing to those kids while he was there.
Yeah, just nonchalant.
It makes you wonder, what was his relationship like with this kid? Because to raise kids for like years and years, and then just all of a sudden be like, okay, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, he must have been real detached to begin with, which is so sad.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. That's my whole point right there. Yep.
Yeah.
This is your family. Those are your kids. It's your job to protect them, no matter what.
The one
100%.
person that could have done something within his legal right was Kevin. It was Kevin's job to check in on Faith, and he did not. What he was doing all that time when him and Ruby were separated is beyond me.
Kevin, tell me how your kids allegedly not hearing from you, from their dad for a year is in their best interest. Kevin, if you're such a good person and a very gentle person, Kevin, allegedly, how is that a good thing? According to your lawyer, Kevin, you haven't even seen or checked on your kids this entire time. Kevin, I will keep saying your name, Kevin, so that people remember your name here, Kevin. And even though you want to, quote, do what's best for your kids, get them back, get them under your tutelage and fathership to protect them, I'm not so sure that's a good idea. I'm not. I'm just not. Again, I hope that he had no involvement here. I hope that is proven to be true. I would hate to think that he did. But here we are. Do we really think that Kevin should get them back after he abandoned them?
No, he did. That's what I was just about to say that too. No, he abandoned them. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. He abandoned them. I hope they find a family member and they can keep all those kids together, but she certainly doesn't need them, and I don't think he should go, the baby should go back to him either. He abandoned them.
He doesn't care.
I don't know, but I do believe that until you own up to the fact that from 2015 to 2020, for almost a decade, Kevin, you weren't just one of the 8 passengers, you were at the damn wheel steering the ship along with Ruby. So I just kind of feel like, own it, Kevin, you know, quack, quack, don't be the duck anymore. I don't know, I can't believe we still got this duck euphemism going on, but you know what, I'm a committed bitch to this thing, okay? On September 8th, 2023, a virtual court appearance was set up for Ruby and Jody. That was delayed by nearly an hour because more than 1,300 people tried logging in at once to watch it. Both of the women appeared in jumpsuits, good colors for them, and didn't enter a plea. And I want you to keep in mind, as this case continues to develop, the phrasing of the charges, specifically, quote, causing or permitting. I think that's going to play a crucial role in this case, as that indicates to me that prosecutors don't necessarily have to prove that Ruby physically did these things, just at least that she permitted it to happen. Same with Jody. Now, both women were set to remain in jail without bail until their next hearing, which has changed dates a few times. As of me recording this, it's set for the end of October, but that could change. What's really interesting about this happening is that while speaking for herself, Ruby actually made a rather shocking revelation of her own against her own son, the one who escaped. And again, I won't go into graphic.
Of course, the one that escaped. Of course, we're going to throw some bullshit towards him, right? Yeah. Because he got away. He's the reason why she got caught.
Honestly, he went through a lot, and now it's just she's just putting more on him. It's
now his own mother is saying what she's saying.
Yeah,
it kind of feels like that's her sick way of punishing him for out in all this.
Absolutely.
I believe that's what it is.
Details, but to summarize, Ruby Franke had the whole grain audacity to accuse her son of being inappropriate.
I want to get your reaction, Swoop, to what Ruby said in court today. She said, I parent in a tough way because one of my children, I threw up in my mouth when I heard that. Is this going to fly? She didn't present any evidence, did she? Anything?
I have not seen any evidence that was presented at all, and I think throwing up in the mouth is absolutely the appropriate response there. I was absolutely disgusted and horrified to see her try to flip it like that. You know, we see in cases a tactic called DARVO. It's deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender, and I was absolutely just horrified to see that this might be a tactic that she is going to utilize.
I mean, look, there's that 911 call. That is hard evidence, and there's a witness. Will you come back? We're only at the beginning of this story, but I mean, you really are the expert on it. Will you come back and join us again, Swoop?
Absolutely.
No, I'm not going to say one way or another whether any of this is true. I guess there's going to be info that does or doesn't come out. What doesn't really add up for me, though, is why Ruby made these allegations against her own son and what any of these allegations have to do with, well, anything that she's allegedly done, except now after watching the Mormon Stories podcast episode where Dr. DeLynn explained that a parent's worst nightmare would be to think their child is impure. And when I think of the long-standing history Jody has of accusing anyone and everyone under the sun of being impure for the sake of isolating and controlling them, it makes a whole lot more sense to me. And the total nonchalance with which Ruby just talks about all of this, I can't. It all goes to show exactly what I've been talking about when it comes to the utter indifference of Ruby Franke, because even if the allegations are true, it's the very calm way she discusses them that really showcases just how banal her brand of evil really is.
No, Yeah, it's all about he's the one that got away, and he's the reason why she's sitting in jail right now. So why wouldn't she throw him under the bus? Or not even throw him under the bus, just say some outlandish shit because she's angry.
Yeah. Like, she's still trying to figure out a way to punish him, even though he's left the situation. So that's her trying to control him, trying to still control the situation around him, saying, no matter how far you can get away from me and from the situation, I can still make life healthy.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it feels like it's her way of like playing with people's emotions and kind of cornering them to pity her a little bit. Like, look what I had to deal with. I just didn't know how to handle it, and that excuses why I was so hard on them.
Davo, she's reversing victim and offender. Like, that's exactly what's happening.
I wouldn't even put it past her that she'll probably come out with like saying more stuff about her kids.
Well, wouldn't put it past her.
No.
After being arrested, YouTube completely deleted the 8 Passengers and Connections channels and banned Ruby Franke altogether from the platform. YouTube told people that they, quote, terminated 2 channels linked to Ruby Franke in accordance with our creator responsibility guidelines. So, you know, some progress there. Since then, both Ruby and Jody have been experiencing vaguely defined medical issues and have had to be hospitalized. Jody had an alleged life-threatening issue and was sent to a hospital, and Ruby was moved briefly to the medical unit of the jail she was in. But what's really interesting is that a woman named Deborah Monson spoke with Insider about some of the time that she recently spent at the Washington County Sheriff's Office. At the same time, Ruby and Jody were there. According to Deborah, she spent about an hour with Jody in general population and 3 nights with Ruby in the medical ward, and described both as being very tight-lipped, but also noticed that Ruby was distressed over being separated from Jody. She claimed Ruby said, quote, gosh, how long are they going to keep us in here, and why did they separate me and Jody? I can't understand why they separated me and my friend. Oh my gosh, Ruby, I don't know why you can't understand that. And throughout the rest of her time with Ruby, she claimed that Ruby spoke constantly about her worries about Jody wanting to—
I'm telling you, they're
bumping muffs.
They're bumping muffs. Yes,
they are. You wouldn't take a picture with somebody looking at them like that, like the one before this. That was romantic as hell.
That picture, hold on.
Yeah, because like
there it is, right there. That picture, right? Hold on. That picture right there.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because look
that
how
feels
she
like
is
romance.
Yeah, because look how she is with Kevin, and then compare it to how she is with Jody.
Oh, yes,
yeah.
I'm telling you.
Time with Ruby, she claimed that Ruby spoke constantly about her worries about Jody, wanting to see her and talk to her. And when she discovered Deborah had seen Jody for an hour, Ruby became very interested in Deborah, asking things like, what did she say? How did she act? Did she say anything at all? Deborah describes this behavior as almost childlike, but also almost smitten.
Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, we've called this since the beginning. Me and Xylie been on this part since the get-go.
And the reason why they won't call it a relationship is due to their religion, because they are very against that.
Right.
That's why they won't say what it really is.
They're just really, 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 really good friends. Okay.
Yeah, super good, man. Maybe even best friends.
Bro.
Whatever's going on with Jody and Ruby definitely transcends a normal professional relationship and even a normal friendship. There's a certain fixation that Ruby allegedly has with Jody, evident in the statements that Deborah makes, that may seem romantic, but I'd argue they almost might be cult-like. I don't know. Again, all of this is just speculation. Do not take it as fact. Like, what?
One in the same. One in the same.
Yeah.
One in the same.
What was it about Ruby in particular that Jody was drawn to? What was it about Jody that Ruby was drawn to? How did they become business partners? Why did Ruby allegedly neglect her family even more, all to spend more time with Jody? And most importantly, why does Ruby not seem to care at all about any of this? Now, as of me filming this, there were a few updates that I am not going to deep dive on, but I'll just list them here and potentially cover if we do a part 3. Let me know in the comments if you would like me to do that, and I'll either cover it on my new second channel or make a more extended full-length doc here. A few weeks after their arrest, news outlets obtained the arrest warrants where the police reported that in addition to Ruby's son being detained at the house, the son said that Jody Hildebrandt would dress his using cayenne pepper and honey paste instead of—
Wait, what?
What?
Oh.
Outlets obtained the arrest warrants where the police reported that in addition to Ruby's son being detained at the house, the son said that Jody Hildebrandt would dress his using cayenne pepper and honey paste.
Oh my God.
That is horrible.
Oh my God.
Instead of them giving medical treatment or going to a doctor, they were trying to treat it at home to keep it a secret. And why would they do that if they didn't know what they were doing was wrong?
So it's a lot to unpack. I want to do it with our panel. We have Stacey Honowitz, Assistant State Attorney, and documentary filmmaker and YouTube commentator, Swoop, who's been following this case closely for more than a year. So Swoop, I want to start with you. Are you surprised at what we're learning?
Thank you for having me. And there are parts of me that are surprised at just how much more sinister this seems to get day by day. And then there are also parts of me that just aren't. I've been covering this story for about a year now. And the things that Ruby Franke was willing to put in her vlogs and post to YouTube were very alarming. And I never thought, though, when I consider everything that we've heard now and all the new information that's come out today in the warrants, I never thought that it would go to this severe length, the cayenne pepper. And there were so many warning signs along the way, but it just seems like, I don't know, people missed it. They weren't listening to it. There was not enough being done. And now we're seeing clear evidence.
I know, I agree with you.
You know what the sad thing is I think there was enough done by everybody else calling. It's just CPS or whatever they call it. They just dropped the ball. Somebody dropped the ball because there were enough calls done where those kids should have been taken out of that house long ass time ago.
Yeah.
It's like it's not like nobody called. It's not like nobody had concerns.
Yeah.
Yeah, a whole decade's worth of calls.
Yeah, and like I hate to say it, but like if you look at a lot of cases where a child has passed and stuff, half the time it's like, oh, there was like 1 billion CPS calls and nothing happened, and then the kid ended up dying over it, and it's like, how many times does this have to happen over and over and over again? Like, luckily none of these kids died, but like that does happen.
Very lucky. Yeah,
that does happen a lot. And CPS was called out a bunch of times, and it's sad.
It's very sad.
Just seems so intentional, so premeditated. It's absolutely mind-blowing.
There are also growing questions about Jody's other business partner, who is the president of the Connections Foundation. So let's also add Pam Botcher to the cesspool. Welcome, Pam. Ooh. Grab a drink. It's toasty in there. Now, Jody's nibbling, who we talked about earlier, Jesse, also remembers Pam and had this to say. Pam Botcher, when I was living with Jody, Pam Botcher was around. She was Jody's best friend. I didn't realize she was connected in this. I mean, I have very strong feelings towards Pam because she was one of the people that was constantly surveilling. The surveillance of reporting back to Jody. Jesse said that Pam was always at the house because she was friends with Jody. So
was that the ex-girlfriend?
Yeah, she's like the muscle or something.
Welcome to the cesspool, Pam, and I will continue to be following if she has any potential involvement in this case, and I'm sure we're going to see here if this does go to trial. There has also been a lot of speculation around whether Ruby Franke in particular will ever actually go to trial, or if she'll just blame Jody for everything, say she wasn't in her right mind, and get off free. Now, firstly, of course, it's innocent until proven guilty always. We do have to keep that in mind. And also, I'm not an attorney, so take this for what you will, but if Ruby was guilty and were to blame Jody, and if this goes to trial, I find it really hard to think that the prosecution would offer Ruby a deal to turn witness against Jody in exchange for a lesser or no sentence. I'm willing to bet that the prosecution has way more damning evidence against Jody and probably Ruby than we could possibly realize. So I don't currently think that they would even need Ruby to get a conviction against Jody, but of course time will tell, and we really don't know any of the evidence that they have.
Throw both of them under the prison.
Yeah,
they need
I don't even want them in Gen Pop. I want them under the prison.
Yeah, line them up.
After what they did, what they did to those babies, I want them under. I don't want them.
They don't deserve shit.
They don't deserve shit. Exactly right, Eva. Exactly right.
As of right now. Also, I wanted to point out, in the state of Utah, a person cannot use mental condition as a defense. That's what people refer to as like pleading insanity or mental defect.
What? Really? Wait, what?
Any of the evidence that they have as of right now. Also, I wanted to point out, in the state of Utah, a person cannot use mental condition as a defense. That's what people refer to as like pleading insanity or mental defect. Quote, mental condition shall not be a defense to any charge of criminal conduct. So she won't be able to claim a mental...
I had no idea that varied state to state.
I didn't either. I thought that was a thing everywhere. Oh, okay.
Condition, and I don't believe she'd be able to claim that she was brainwashed. Ruby was exhibiting problematic parenting for years before she met Jody, and I'm sure the prosecution's getting every video clip that they possibly can. And because Ruby has had many videos from her vlogs and the Connections videos, when they both constantly argue the online criticisms that they face about how Ruby was raising her family, that would go to prove that Ruby knew her actions were controversial at best, and that she was of sound mind to come up with excuses to try to justify her actions towards her family that she was broadcasting and profiting and making millions off of. Again,
I mean, boom. Yeah, absolutely.
And if the prosecution finds evidence to prove that Ruby was causing or permitting these things to happen to her own family, then to me, I kind of feel like it's game over. Like, no get out of jail free card simply for throwing her alleged accomplice under the bus. But what do y'all think? I would love to know your thoughts and predictions of what you think will happen to Ruby and Jody.
I can tell you what I want to happen. I can't tell you what I think is going to happen. What I want to happen is a very quick and simple and wouldn't cost the taxpayers as much money as a whole ass trial and everything else. But that's just me.
Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, please do keep it respectful.
Okay, that's the end, because she does a little kitty palate cleanser.
Okay.
All right, so what do y'all think? What do y'all think? What do y'all think?
I think, as usual, Swoop did a really good update video, and there was definitely some things that I personally didn't know about that came to light. And I'm very interested to see how the rest of, if there's a trial, I'm very interested to see how that goes.
Yeah, for sure. I hope it's like a public one where they do televise that, but at the same time, I feel like that they would still profit off that in some way, like getting some sort of attention like garnered around them and all that sort of shit. Like, I feel like they don't deserve attention in any way.
But maybe the attention is needed because there are other family channels out there.
Yeah. That was the other side of the coin I was going to flip. That's the thing, is that, like, you know, it puts the fear of God, I guess, into those that have also been like exploiting children and like doing family channels and that sort of stuff in the way that they've been doing. So hopefully, something good comes out of all of this. That's what I hope.
I hope so too. Oh, what, Bunny? I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think we need some new laws. Like how we have laws for Hollywood for children working in Hollywood, like they can't, like there's restrictions and things because of their age. We need to carry that over to like social media and YouTube and stuff.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I think it's getting to that point where it needs to be done. You know, like you really. I mean, the great thing about like YouTube is you know you have a little bit more freedom on YouTube, all right? And the different like Rumble or whatever, you have a varying degrees of different freedom and stuff like that. And but I think it's time, especially when it comes to kids, that I think it's time for us to have some laws on there. I agree.
Yeah, it's gone way too far.
I agree with you, Bunny, on that one. I think it's time. Because this is getting out of hand. This is getting way out of hand. But yeah, I hope they get thrown under the jail. I really, in my heart of hearts, I do not want, what's his name, Kevin. Yeah, she said it enough. I should remember that name.
Kevin.
Kevin. He knew what was going on.
Yeah,
he knew what was going on before he left. And just so you could get back with your wife, you went over a year without talking to your children. Fuck you, dude. You weren't a father. You weren't a father. That's not a father. Because a father will bust his ass to see his kids and will fight anybody to see their kids.
It just comes off as he never cared about the kids.
Yeah, he was always detached.
Yeah, gross. Very gross.
Yeah.
All right, well, do you want to take us out, Eva?
Sure thing. Well, that was a informational and riveting episode, number 31 of the broadcast. Thank you all for joining us. We do have a new merch drop, a new design drop on our merch store, so please go check it out. We'll leave that in the description as well, the broadcast glitch. We will be back here on Wednesday, thank you, at 6 p.m. Eastern for our usual lives. Yeah, that has been it. Thanks for joining us. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Everybody.
Bye. I'm telling you, they're bumping muffs. They're bumping muffs. Yes,
they are.